Arman Tsarukyan got robbed again. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how the UFC just lit the division on fire and why the fan base is losing its mind.
The winner of this fight is going to fight Ilia. What happens to Arman? Arman's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt now? He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind.
The UFC matchmaker stepped right into an ambush of backlash the moment Dana White revealed Gaethje versus Paddy for the interim belt, and fans are screaming because Arman, the #1 contender, got tossed aside like he doesn't exist, and you are about to learn why this decision could explode the lightweight division.
Dana White just announced it. Arman Tsarukyan ain't gonna like it, but it doesn't matter because we do. Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight UFC championship of the world, kicking off the new era.
Arman Tsarukyan is crying in a hotel room as we speak. I just saw Arman Tsarukyan sink to his knees in a Target somewhere. This is really, really bad news for him, but really great news for fight fans.
Paddy Pimblett doesn't care about the chaos. He's already mapping out 2026, calling his shot, taking the interim strap, then Topuria's undisputed crown, and then promising Arman. If Arman shows up, and if you think that wasn't designed to poke the bear, you haven't seen anything yet. Stay locked in.
Obviously, you just saw Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett for the interim title. Earlier, Topuria posted, I'm dealing with some personal problems, so I'm not gonna fight the first quarter. So the winner of Gaethje versus Paddy will be the interim title, and then they will face Topuria.
Justin Gaethje sees this not as disrespect, but as destiny, grabbing one last shot to prove he's still one of the most violent artists alive, thanking the UFC and Paramount Plus like he just got handed the golden ticket. And this storyline only gets crazier because the UFC might be gambling everything on this moment. Don't blink.
First ever time when we fought in January, the earliest I've ever fought. It's gonna ruin my Christmas dinner and my birthday because I'm 31 like 3 weeks before it, but it's all going to be worth it when I lift that real title above my head and Paddy the Baddy is a world champion, and 2026 is going to be the biggest year of my life. I am coming for that interim title, then I'll be making it the undisputed title when I come and beat Ilia Topuria up and take the undisputed title. And then little posh boy, if he manages to fight in that time, because he likes and out and saying he's got a sore back, if little posh boy fights in that time and keeps his ranking, I'll punch his head in as well.
Arman unloads on social media, confused, furious, publicly questioning how he gets passed over while Paddy and Gaethje get crowned. And Ariel Helwani fires a verbal missile backing him, calling this interim fight thrown together, saying the belt shouldn't even exist. And the deeper reason he claims they booked this will blow your mind. Keep watching, it's coming.
The #1 contender at 155 pounds is a guy named Arman Tsarukyan, and he's not involved in this fight. This is a makeshift fight. This is as prestigious as a BMF title. God bless. I said I wanted to see Paddy fight for the belt. God bless. But this is a bogus fight, and it's insane to me that it is headlining over Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. On paper, Paddy versus Justin is a fine fight to determine the #1 contender to fight Ilia and or Arman. Ilia won that belt back in June. I don't even think you need an interim title fight. Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, #1 contender fight, Ilia versus Arman, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilia. What happens to Arman? Arman's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do to get a shot at the belt?
Helwani reminds the MMA world that Arman did everything right, waited, worked, dominated Dan Hooker with a suffocating finish, and yet he gets banished from the conversation while Justin and Paddy headline a PPV, and Helwani calls the whole setup insane, which might be the cleanest word for it compared to what the fans are screaming right now.
I know he had the fight back in January, he got hurt. Sue the guy. He sat patiently, he went out there, he steamrolled right through Dan Hooker. He did exactly what he had to do. He did what Khamzat and Islam did not do. He finished his opponent on the ground in dominant, impressive fashion. And now what is he? Now he's just floating in the wind. And he's not even next, apparently. Now, of course, everything could change. Nothing really means anything. They make up the rules as they go along. But to put Justin and Paddy in the interim title slot and then have the winner of that fight Ilia is insane to me. And worse than that, because we have seen interim title fights that have felt a little fugazi. I cannot believe that they are headlining this card with that fight.
Luke Thomas jumps in, saying this decision chips away at the sport's integrity, replacing real merit with money and marketing. And for everyone thinking Arman's silence means he's fine with this, you'll want to stick around, because the truth is, the UFC's direction may never favor him unless something drastic changes soon.
You are going to hollow out your product doing shit like this long enough. It's not just that you're not meeting expectations, you're just not. The fight business has always been one of manipulation. The fight business has always been one of the promoters massaging stuff to get what they want. It's a part and parcel of what they do. This is hardly some new practice, right? But it feels like there are moments in time where you can't really fuck around with that. And that's kind of what we're getting here. We're getting a lot of that. We're getting fights where there's obvious ways to go a different direction and they just don't go that direction, clearly because they've got some other aim in terms of how they want to generate revenue. They're just extracting wealth out of the bout rather than matchmaking for a real clear sense of who's the best.
The interim belt even exists because Ilia Topuria won't fight for 4 to 5 months due to heartbreaking personal problems. He's going through a divorce, hasn't seen his daughter, and refuses to hold up the division, stepping aside like a champion who respects the game. And the emotional twist isn't over, trust me.
Ilia has expressed interest about moving up and maybe trying to face Makhachev. How realistic is this scenario, do you think? You know, does it leave Tsarukyan in limbo at lightweight?
Stupid. He's not moving up. Like, come on. There's too many horses in the stable at 170.
I'm moving up.
Yeah.
Is he trying to run from Arman? Is Ilia running from Arman?
I do think so.
Oh,
okay. That's
I do think so.
legit.
Hello.
But with that said, I think that Ilia Topuria.
Who wouldn't want to run from Arman? Have you seen him before?
I'm running from him currently. I don't even know the guy I'm running from.
I do think Ilia Topuria is the highest skilled fighter in the UFC right now, but I do think he is threatened by Arman. Arman's big, he's strong, he's great at the weight class, his boxing is clean, great grappling. It's a tough fight for him to where he can go to 70s. Maybe he doesn't get the win. It doesn't make sense to me. The only fight for Ilia Topuria right now is Arman.
Max Holloway reaches out with pure respect and brotherhood, telling Ilia that family comes first. Ilia responds with gratitude, and this moment shows the human side of the UFC that gets buried under headlines and drama. But don't go anywhere, because the business bombshells come right after this.
Is going through a divorce right now, so of course that's a tough time for anybody, and it is very, very distracting. You can't focus on a fight in a training camp, certainly an opponent, when you're going through a divorce. So certainly not going to talk about that any more than what I have done there. Ilia, we wish you nothing but the best.
Michael Bisping confirms Ilia's struggling through personal wreckage that would mentally destroy most fighters, and Din Thomas praises him for not clinging to the belt, stepping away instead of becoming a roadblock. But what Din reveals next about how Paramount controls the matchmaking is the part fans are missing. Stay tuned.
Well, first off, my hat goes off to Ilia for doing that, because a lot of fighters would be like, no, I'm going to hold on to it and make everybody wait. So my hat's off to him for pulling that. The Khalil, not Khalil, but the Jamal Hill and the Yuri Prohashka, right? Like saying, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let these other guys fight for it and let them shake things out the way it needs to shake out. So even though he's not relinquishing the belt, he is letting somebody fight for the interim belt. So my hat's off to him for doing that. And when you have personal problems, you're not going to be able to fight well. And he understands that. So hats off to him for also recognizing that and not just trying to push through, because typically we'd be like, oh man, he should be fighting anyway. But the fact that he's recognizing that he's not going to be able to give us his best work and he needs to sit out for a while, hopefully things get better for him. And I'm wishing him all the luck and success in getting those things behind him so he can come back and fight.
Din Thomas pulls the curtain back, saying Paramount wants entertainers first and fighters second, admitting grappling technicians like Arman get ignored while spotlight killers like Gaethje get boosted, meaning Arman may be the best, but he's not the type of fighter Paramount wants to sell. And that's a terrifying shift in how UFC operates.
Well, I know someone who's not happy, and I'm sure that's Arman Tsarukyan, right? I'm sure he believes he deserves to be in this fight, and he was saying even after the win, like, didn't take any damage. If they want me to fight in January, that's when he's being asked about Ilia, but I'm sure if they called him to fight either of these guys for an interim belt, he would have done it.
You know, and it's unfortunate too, because we put this burden on these fighters, but it says a lot though. It says a lot about the direction that Paramount wants to go with the UFC, really. It says that, listen, we want guys that are going to bang. And it's an unfair burden that we put on fighters to say, we want you to win, be successful and win it. And you also have to entertain us by putting your neck on the line and taking a lot of chances and taking damage in the process. Because when you got guys like Justin Gaethje, that's what they do, but they're fan favorites. A guy like Arman Tsarukyan might not be a fan favorite because he's so grappling oriented.
Thomas doubles down, saying the UFC now needs marketable electricity, not just skill. And while Arman deserves the title, the UFC's business engine picks spectacle over merit, which means he could be frozen out unless he raises his entertainment stock, and that might force Arman into a completely different style of war.
So it's kind of telling of where the direction of where they want the UFC to go, because they're trying to get eyeballs, man. Without eyeballs, the sport goes nowhere. So for Arman Tsarukyan, he might have to sit out for a little bit, but you know, he definitely deserves it and his time is coming. It's just, I think right now Paramount and the UFC is kind of establishing that, you know, we're going to want some entertainers in there, and if you're not entertaining us, if entertainment is not a part of your priority, then that might be an issue.
Michael Bisping breaks down the matchup itself, calling Gaethje explosive even at 36, saying his Holloway knockout doesn't define him, and Pimblett is undefeated in the UFC and has the tools to shock Gaethje if he uses movement and avoids leg kick hell, and this fight is way closer than people think.
This is a very, very tough competitive matchup. Now, Justin Gaethje is no spring chicken. I think he's 36 years old, but you know what you're going to get with Justin Gaethje. Yes, of course, against Max Holloway at UFC 300, he got knocked out, he got embarrassed, he got face planted. I tell you what, it was a shocking scene, okay? But that's not normally what happens with Justin Gaethje. He is one of the most exciting fighters. They do call him the human highlight reel for a reason. He's got great wrestling, but the boxing, the striking, the leg kicks, the punch power that he has, I'm telling you, this man is no joke. And neither is Paddy Pimblett, right? We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC. He put a beating on Michael Chandler.
I reckon Pimblett's beating him. Mixing up the grappling and the striking, staying at range, not being in the pocket with him like a Chandler would be, like a Fiziev would be. I reckon Pimblett's going to beat him. Gaethje coming towards the tail end of his career. I just want to mention now, Arman Tsarukyan is... this is tough for Arman. Okay, he's probably going to have to fight someone else. He said he would be on this card. I don't know if they then called him and he said, no, I can't be on that card, and that's why they've done this. If that's what comes out from this, I guess it could be a bit more understandable, because otherwise it would have been Nunes Harrison to main event, and we just can't have that.
Bisping warns this could be Gaethje's last great swing, but Pimblett is no walkover. He could turn Gaethje's retirement tour into a nightmare. And if you think Pimblett is getting handed this fight, think again, because Guru has a take that's pure chaos coming right up.
And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett. Now, talking about the matchup, of course, it is an easier fight for Justin than what it is against Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest of all time. Islam Makhachev, the current pound for pound, and according to many people, a man that is surpassing Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? So in that regard, it is an easier matchup. Will Paddy be able to take him down? Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje, because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril. That's all I'll say about that one, but that is a phenomenal fight.
MMA Guru calls it a wild firestorm of hype, joking that Pimblett teleported to hash 5 by pure Scouse magic, but he also reminds everyone Gaethje demanded a title shot or retirement, and the UFC gave him exactly what he demanded, which makes this whole situation look like favoritism at the highest level.
We just can't have that. But this is insane. Gaethje versus Pimblett is an absolutely insane fight. I'm looking forward to it. This is a massive, massive matchup. Ton of hype on the line, but I do want to mention, Pimblett has floated up to number 5 in the rankings. Magically. Scouse magic, dude. Scouse magic. Don't ask for that on a street corner in Liverpool, by the way, but this is some Scouse magic. Okay? He just levitated his way into an interim title shot, which is insane, but fair enough. As an Englishman, I'm all on board with this. But, you know, it is what it is. I think he'll beat Gaethje, but let it be known, Gaethje said, I'm not fighting ever again, and I'll retire if you don't give me a title shot. And they bent the knee. They bent the knee to Justin Gaethje and just gave him what he wanted through him threatening to retire after beating Fiziev on short notice.
Adam Catterall fires shots saying Arman should have been in this fight, but got buried because big names draw big attention, suggesting the UFC cares more about selling cards than crowning the rightful contender. And at this point, the fans are beyond frustrated, understandably. Eric Jackman detonates the take of the night, calling Gaethje versus Paddy one of the least meaningful interim fights in UFC memory, comparing it to the Gane-Lewis disaster and saying it's even worse since Arman is clearly ahead of both men, and that statement hits harder than a Gaethje right hand. The madness is real, the division is shaken, and Arman Tsarukyan is stuck on the outside once again while the UFC crowns entertainers over rightful contenders. And you better believe this story is nowhere near over once the dust settles after UFC 324.